The last time I spoke to my mom, she was sitting on the edge of her hospital bed and said, "If you need to forgive me, do it now." I told her there was nothing to forgive, but after she died, I realized I lied just to make it easier for both of us. The last time I spoke to my mom, she was sitting on the edge of her hospital bed with one hand holding the plastic railing and the other resting on her knee. She looked tired, like her bones were trying to let go before she did. Her voice was low but steady when she said, "If you need to forgive me, do it now." I was standing by the window, watching some nurse push a cart down the hallway. The coffee in my hand had gone cold. I turned around and looked at her. She wasn't crying. She wasn't even looking at me. Just sitting there, like someone waiting for a train they knew wouldn't come. "There's nothing to forgive," I said. She gave me a tiny nod. That was it. She just scooted herself back onto the mattress and slowly lay down, like we'd finished a normal conversation. Like that was all that needed to be said. I didn't say it because it was true. I said it because I didn't want to crack open a wound that would never heal in time. I said it because it was easier, for her, for me, for both of us. But it wasn't honest. And now, more than a year later, I still think about it. My mom wasn't evil. That's not what this is. People hear forgive and they think of abuse, screaming, chaos. But what I needed to forgive was quieter, more confusing. It was the years of being ignored in the ways that matter most. She made dinner. She folded laundry. She was there, physically. But emotionally, she was in some room I never had the key to. When I was 8, I drew a picture of her and me holding hands under a tree. I taped it to the fridge before she came home from work. She took one look at it and said, "Why do I look so tired in this?" That was all. When I was 13, I got into a school play. Nothing big, just one line. I told her the night of the show. She said she had to work late. I stood on that stage and looked out at empty seats and felt something close in me. She wasn't cruel, but she was distant. And when she wasn't distant, she was uncomfortable, like being too close to me made her nervous. As I got older, I adapted. I stopped telling her when things mattered. I didn't bring home friends. I didn't ask questions. I just tried to be good enough to not be a problem. In high school, when I started struggling with panic attacks, I told her once. Just once. She looked at me like I'd handed her a puzzle missing half the pieces. Then she said, "You've always been too sensitive." That was the last time I asked her for help. When the cancer came, it was almost a relief. That sounds awful to say, but it made her soft in a way I'd never seen. She let me hold her hand. She asked me to read to her sometimes. She even started sharing stories from her childhood, things I'd never heard. One day, she told me about the time her own mother left for 6 months and never explained why. She came back like nothing happened, my mom said. So, I learned to never ask. That stuck with me. And maybe that's where it started. Maybe she didn't know how to be close to anyone. Maybe she was repeating something she never knew how to undo. But even understanding that didn't take the pain away. That day at the hospital, I should have told her the truth. I should have said, "I needed more from you. I felt like I was never enough. I wish you had seen me." But I didn't. I said what I thought she needed to hear. And then she died 3 days later. After she died, I became the executor of her will. It wasn't a big estate. Just the small house she'd lived in since I was a kid, a few savings bonds, and some jewelry she never wore. The lawyer said it would be simple. It wasn't. Grief didn't hit me like a wave. It came in pieces. A weird silence in my apartment. An automatic text to her phone that didn't go through. Seeing someone in the grocery store with her haircut and following them down 2 aisles before realizing it wasn't her. But more than that, there was this numbness. Like I'd lost someone I was never allowed to be close to. And now I couldn't ask why. A few weeks after the funeral, I started cleaning out her house. She kept everything neat as always. Bills in labeled folders. Photos in boxes by year. Her bedroom smelled like rose lotion and old paper. I started with the closet. Behind the winter coats, there was a cardboard box marked Misk. Inside, there were old birthday cards, ones I'd made as a kid, still folded neatly. There was a drawing I barely remembered doing, me and her under a tree, holding hands. The one she'd criticized. She'd kept it. And at the very bottom, there was a stack of letters. Not from me. Not from anyone I knew, but addressed to her from someone named Robert. They started in 1987. I was barely 2. The first one opened with, "I wish things had turned out different. I still think about you every day." Each letter, about a dozen in total, was a variation of the same message. Apologies. Regret. Hints at some kind of decision that changed everything. The last one, dated 1996, read, "I saw a photo of her. She looks like you. I hope someday she understands." I sat on her bedroom floor for almost an hour, rereading them. My stomach turned. I had no idea who this man was. I didn't know what decision he was talking about. I didn't even know how she'd met him. All I knew was, she never mentioned him. Not once. I asked my aunt about it. I called her that night, voice shaking, and read a few lines out loud. She went quiet. Then she said, "I always thought you knew." Knew what? Robert was your father. Not the man on your birth certificate. Your mom met him when she was working in Ohio. He wanted to be involved, but your mom thought it'd be easier to raise you on her own. I couldn't speak. She didn't want to confuse you, she added, as if that was some kind of explanation. She thought she was protecting you. That broke something in me I didn't know could still break. All my life I thought I understood the terms. That she was distant because she was cold. That she didn't talk about things because she didn't know how. But this was a whole other level of silence. She had made a decision about my life. My identity. She looked me in the face for 33 years and let me believe a lie. And then, when she finally gave me the chance, "If you need to forgive me," I didn't ask. I didn't know what I didn't know. And now I'm standing in the wreckage of that decision, wondering how much of my confusion, my loneliness, my fear of connection, comes from a story I was never told. I didn't tell anyone else about the letters. Not right away. I put them in a file folder and locked them in the bottom drawer of my desk. Some nights I'd open the drawer and just look at them, not even read them, just stare at the handwriting, trying to picture the man who wrote them. Robert. The name didn't feel like anything to me. Not a father. Not a stranger. Just someone who'd been erased. After about a month, I did something I didn't think I'd do. I tried to find him. It wasn't hard. His last name was on the envelopes. A quick search, and a few clicks later, I had an address. A house in Canton, Ohio. A phone number. A real estate license. He was alive. Married. Had kids. I stared at his face on a business website for almost 10 minutes. He had kind eyes. A deep crease in his forehead. And, God help me, my nose. My exact nose. It felt like looking at something I'd been missing my whole life without knowing it. I wrote him a letter. Just a short one. I didn't even sign my last name. E. My name is Sarah. I found some letters you wrote to my mother, Eleanor, years ago. I think we need to talk. If you're willing. I didn't expect a response. But he called me. 3 days later. Sarah, he said, voice low. It's you? I don't remember what I said back. Just that I was sitting on the floor by my dryer, holding the phone like it might break.
He was quiet for a long time.
Then he said, I always hoped you'd find me someday. We talked for over an hour. He didn't sound angry. Just cautious. Careful. Like every word mattered.
He told me he tried, back then.
He wrote, called, even showed up once, and my mom told him to leave. Said she'd raise me alone. Said it would confuse me to have him in and out of my life. She thought it would protect you from disappointment, he said. But I would have stayed. I would have done anything. I believed him. And I hated that I believed him. Because it meant she really did make that choice. I met him 2 weeks later. We sat in a booth at a diner off I-77. He looked older in person. Tired. But when he smiled, it was familiar. He brought a photo album. Pages of his life. His kids. His job. One photo of me, printed from a social media post. I followed from a distance, he said. Didn't want to intrude. We didn't hug. That would have been too much. But when I left, he said, I don't know what comes next. But I'm here. If you want to know me. That night, I dreamed about my mom. She was back in her hospital bed, still swinging her feet, still staring at her lap. Only this time, when she said, if you need to forgive me, I stayed silent. And in the dream, she looked up. Her eyes met mine. And for once, I saw guilt. Real guilt. Not confusion. Not regret. But the face of someone who knew they'd done something they couldn't undo. I started seeing Robert more often. Not a lot. Just every few weeks. We met halfway between our cities, small diners, coffee shops, public parks. It wasn't always comfortable. Sometimes we sat in silence, both of us unsure what this relationship was supposed to be. But little by little I learned things. He told me about his job, his family. How he'd gotten married a few years after I was born. How he'd told his wife about me early on, but eventually stopped bringing it up because it hurt too much. She used to ask me, he said once, what would you do if she showed up one day? And I'd say, I'd drop everything. I didn't know how to respond to that. The hardest part wasn't meeting him. It was grieving all the versions of myself that never got to exist because of what my mom decided. I started therapy, told the therapist everything. My childhood, the distance, the silence, the letters. She said something that stuck with me. You were robbed of the chance to make your own decision. That's what hurts the most. She was right. My mom didn't just keep a man for my life. She kept choice for me. The choice to know him. The choice to reject him. The choice to be angry at him. Instead, she decided for both of us. I stopped visiting her grave.
I know how that sounds.
But I couldn't do it anymore. Not when I couldn't even picture her without remembering what she took from me. People don't get that. They think grief softens everything. That once someone's gone, you forget the sharp edges. But sometimes, loss is what finally shows you how deep the wounds go. One afternoon, I got a message on Facebook from someone I didn't know. Hi, this might be weird, but I think we might be sisters. It was Robert's daughter. She'd found me through a tagged post on his page. She said he told her everything about the letters, the diner, our conversations. I'd really like to meet you if you're open to it, she wrote. No pressure. Just, I always wanted a sister. I stared at the message for hours. Typed 5 different replies. Deleted them all. Because I didn't know how to say the truth. I'd spent my whole life learning how to survive without family. I didn't know how to have one now. And in the middle of all of it, I started dreaming about my mom more. Not her sick version, but the younger one, the one I remember from childhood. Still distant, still quiet. But in the dreams, she always looked like she wanted to say something. Like she knew she'd failed me. Only she never did say it. She'd just turn and walk away. Sometimes I still hear her voice, just one line, looping in my head. If you need to forgive me, do it now. And I wonder what would have happened if I'd told the truth. If I'd said, I don't know yet. I don't know if I can. But I didn't. I gave her peace so I could carry the weight instead. And now, every time I look in the mirror and see the nose I got from a man she tried to erase, I think, maybe she didn't want forgiveness. Maybe she just wanted silence. And that's what I gave her. Even though it's never what I needed.